Kyle Penn, and welcome to the Beneficial Black Man channel, where we focus on overcoming gray mediocrity to become beneficial for our community by discussing faith, creativity, personal development, and mental and emotional health management. How y'all doing? Hopefully you're doing well. I hope you're doing well on this study hall day. It's hot outside. It's still hot outside, but that's okay because we're going to get some studying in. And what we're doing here during the study hall is watching stuff from my watch later list. Watching things that I think and that I've come across that is supposed to be helpful or beneficial to becoming a better man. So it could be a variety of different things. We've watched some stuff about mental health, and we're going to watch some other things from other men, other people, just content that's supposed to be helping us to grow. And I'm going to watch it. This is my first time watching these videos. I'm going to give my feedback, my thoughts, and hopefully it'll be beneficial to us both. But yeah, black man, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're protecting your mental. Find a time for an emotional release valve and continue to strive to become beneficial for glory and for good. So the two videos that we're going to be watching today, one is entitled 11 Brutal Truths Men Over 30 Need to Hear. Well, I'm a man over 30, so I thought this might be interesting. I have no idea what this guy is going to talk about, but I'm just curious. And the next video we're going to watch is from the Shoemake Way, who is a content creator that I follow and I support. I like his stuff. I like the stuff that he does. And the title of this one is What You Need to Know About Raising Black Boys. And so we're going to do the brutal truths of being a man over 30 first. Hopefully it's not too brutal, and it's actually helpful for us. So let's give it a listen.
Now, the main purpose of this channel is that I want you to look your best and live your best life. I do that because, of course, I genuinely care about my fellas out there. And what do you do when you really care about somebody? You tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And that's what we're definitely going to do on today's video. On today's video, I'm going to share with you 11 brutal truths that men approaching 30 or already 30 plus need to hear. Now,
all right, before we get further going, I see that his channel is probably like for style and fashion and stuff like that, which is cool, which is fine. I actually used to watch a lot of fashion men's style videos, YouTube channels and stuff like that for a while ago, probably like 2013, 2014. And I think there was some helpful stuff, it's not that I stopped watching it. It just stopped being a priority. Not that I don't care about the way that I look and about fashion. I think eventually I was less interested in like suits and ties and stuff. So I've been trying to find a different style or find a style that's more comfortable and fitting for me. And I think that's important. Like you need to find the thing that works and is comfortable for you. Not just doing what the trend is and not just doing what is considered popular or what you should do. Because I don't like wearing suits. I think I look good in a suit. Like if I'm in the right suit and everything's fit well, I think I look good in a suit. My wife likes me in a suit. Do I want to wear suits all the time? No. If I can avoid it, I will. I don't want to wear suits, but I do know I want to feel and look good. For me, it's function first, and then like style and look second. So I need to be able to operate and move in what I'm wearing, feel comfortable in it, and then I want to make sure it looks good. I think for some people, they're willing to sacrifice function and comfort for just looking good. I'm not with that. Like I think about the stuff that you may see in like high fashion. High fashion stuff doesn't look like it doesn't look functional. It looks a certain way. Sometimes a lot of it to me doesn't look good at all. But people like it. People like it. It's not my vibe, but to me first function. It's gotta serve a purpose well first, and then the look. But I don't know if that was a disclaimer or what, but okay, I don't know if this is all going to be about fashion, but let's see what this brother has to say.
If you're new here, welcome, Jeff, your style OG. On this channel, we talk about various men's lifestyle topics such as style, grooming, and dating every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. I invite you to subscribe, tap the notification bell, and join us. And to my returning friends like Volcanus, salute. Now, the first brutal truth I believe men over 30 need to hear: the world does not owe you understanding. Here's the thing: we all have a story to tell. We've had our ups and downs, things that have happened to us. And it would be nice if the world and the people in it showed us empathy, related, sympathized with what we've been through. But I'm here to tell you, although that may happen, the world doesn't owe you that. Simple fact is, life ain't fair. And other people have their own stuff they're trying to work through. And yes, hopefully there will be people that come into your life, friends, family, a lady, that will empathize. But those people are few and far between. If you want somebody to really listen to what you've been through and empathize, go to a therapist.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I'm glad he's saying this. This is good. I like this so far. This is I agree with this 100%. I have a video talking about this, like the difference between what was it called? But pretty much on this topic of like understanding, like wanting to be heard and then wanting to be validated. Like there's a difference. Like people can hear you, but that doesn't mean they have to like agree and support everything that you say or do. In the same way, I agree with him. Like it's not a guarantee. Sure, it's important and necessary in our lives, and I think actually going to counseling or getting therapy is one way to make sure you're having that in your life. But no, people don't owe you that. You know, I don't know. I think that's good advice.
They're paid to listen. The brutal truth is, nobody's coming to save you. The world doesn't owe you understanding. Now, next up is a brutal truth I believe a lot of men need to hear. If you put a woman on a pedestal, she'll look down on you. You see, the thing is, even guys over 30 tend to chase women instead of pursuing them. And there's a big difference. Do you realize something or someone that's being chased doesn't want to be caught? The problem is a lot of guys put women that they don't even know in a superior position. When you're inferior to somebody, all they can do is look down on you. Trust me, I love women just as much as the next guy. They're beautiful creatures, but they aren't special just because they're women. Just like us men have our flaws, there's some good men, some bad men. Women are the same. They're just as good, bad, flawed, and varied as we are. Just because a woman is beautiful doesn't make her better than you. By all means, if you find a woman of quality, pursue her. But don't put women automatically in a superior position. Don't pedestalize. It's a great...
I can agree, I think, with this. You shouldn't pedestalize anybody, man or woman. In my opinion, the only person that is to be revered in a particular way, and pedestalizing kind of way, is the Most High. That's it. But yeah, like in this human experience, brothers and sisters, yeah, we're equal. I think women are special, though. I think there's a level of respect and honor that should be given to women, whether they look beautiful or not, because they are our sisters, and that doesn't, just because they are different and that they are special, doesn't mean that we have to treat them as if they are superior to us, or that we are superior to them. Like, that's not good. So I mean, I definitely think you can value and appreciate, and I do think you should treat women special. They are different from men, and even in the scriptures, you know, there's a lot of pushback to that. But even in the scriptures, it says that the woman or women are the weaker vessel. That doesn't mean that they are incompetent or that like they don't have value or that they aren't important, but you just have to realize how you treat them and respect them and honor them, and like their needs is different. You know, there are differences there, and those differences work well with us. Like we complement one another. So yeah, I have egalitarian complementarianism kind of perspective on relationships, and just the way, and that relationships doesn't have to be limited to marriage or romantic relationships, but even within our community, men and women have their differences that fit together and work together for the ultimate greater good of the community. And I think we should recognize that. We should honor that and value that and appreciate that, you know. And yeah, I think women are special. Like, I push back a little bit against that. Like, they're not just basic. But I mean, I also don't think men are just basic either. Like, there's special things about us both. And since that's true, I think we should respect that and honor that in our sisters.
Is beautiful doesn't make her better than you. By all means, if you find a woman of quality, pursue her. But don't put women automatically in a superior position. Don't pedestalize. It's a great way to have women looking down on you. Another very harsh truth I want you to pay attention to is the fact that there's always going to be somebody better than you. That's why I think it's a fool's errand to compare yourself to other people. And this is something most of us find out when we're younger than 30, especially if you played sports. You didn't win every game. There was a guy who was more skilled, faster, stronger. You played against other teams that were better than you. That's life. The thing I want you to keep in mind as you get older, that doesn't change. There's always going to be somebody taller, better looking than you, richer than you. That's why I firmly believe in the cliche, comparison is the thief of joy. Who do you want to compare yourself to? You, the person in the mirror. What you should be trying to do is be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. That's all we can ask of you. When you compare yourself to others, there's always going to be places or people you don't measure up to. That's okay. Your competition should be in the mirror. Now,
I agree with this one. I think comparison is definitely, like you said, comparison is the thief of joy. I 100% agree with that. Whether it's comparing yourself to other men or like some guys compare themselves to women and stuff like that. But comparing yourself to anybody else isn't good. Like, you're supposed to, I think part of our design and part of our journey here on God's green earth as, children of the Most High is like, we're just supposed to be our best selves. The analogy that I've heard and that has been shared with me before is if you look at like fruit trees or plants or anything like that, apple trees don't have to compare themselves to orange trees, or any other kind of tree. They just focus on, I'm saying this in the sense of like, if apple trees have like sentience and they can, think their own stuff. But anyways, that could be a whole deeper conversation. But anyways, apple trees just focus on being apple trees. They just focus on producing the fruit that they're supposed to produce. And I believe we're the same way. We're not supposed to look to the right or to the left. We're not supposed to compare ourselves to other people. We're just supposed to be our best selves. And if we continue to focus on that and appreciate the value that's inherently inside of us, that's all that matters. And that helps us to be our best selves. And that helps us to be our most beneficial by continuing to develop ourselves, making sure we're okay, and then creating something or making something for glory and for good. So, I mean, I don't disagree with that point. I think that's a great reminder. Like, don't compare yourself with other people. Try to just be your best self. Focus on being your best self, and keep growing.
Now, one of the brutal truths many people in today's society don't realize, good things take time. This is a huge problem in our modern day. It's just that we have this microwave, instant result culture. That's just not realistic. The people that you see having success, getting somewhere, they put hours upon hours, years and years of effort to get to where they've gotten. There's no shortcuts to success. And the thing I want you to keep in mind, especially my over 30 crowd, that actually can be a relief. If you're not where you wanted to be, might be on the right path. It's just going to take more time, more effort. As long as you can look in the mirror and know you're putting in 100% effort, giving it all you've got, don't be in a rush. If you continue to put in the work, you will eventually be rewarded. And another thing I want you to do, practice delayed gratification. Resist impulse action and impulse results. Trust me, even after 30, it gets greater later. Now, next.
Sorry. I think rhymes are cool. And so whenever you have maybe you have taglines or things like that to help people remember, I respect that. I think that's cool. Sometimes it can come off as cheesy, but later, greater. I got it. That's okay. Cool. I agree with this, and I think this is something that a lot of guys struggle with, and I know I've struggled with it. Checking, it kind of ties to his last point about comparison. Like, if you look at other people, say academically, if you look at other people who are getting their master's or getting their PhD, or people who have graduated from college, whatever. You look at them and you compare yourself, and it's kind of like, damn, I'm not as far along in my journey as I would like to be. Or majority of my friends have kids. Majority of my good like brothers, maybe minus like two or three, they all have kids. And uh I wrestle with that sometimes. Like, oh man, if I don't hurry up, my kids are gonna be too young to hang out with their kids. And but do things in your time. Like, I would want to rush having children just to fit in, and just to do what I think is supposed to be the right thing at this time and this place and time. Like, no, there's other things that I need to work on, and there are the things that me and my wife want to work on together before we bring a little person into the world. And of course, God can do whatever he wants to do. Like, he'd be like, all right, you got a kid now, if he wanted to. But no, like, I think we need to realize that life is really long. Like, recently, my wife, in one of her live streams, she referenced or quoted Chris Rock in one of his stand-ups. He talked about life is like the longest thing that you'll ever do, and it's true. But we are, in this culture and in this society, are always being rushed. People have like a quarter life crisis. They have a midlife crisis. They have all of these crises. I don't know if that's a plural of that, but they have all of these situations, these hardships, because they're thinking so much about the future. And that can lead to anxiety. And then they think so much about the past, like, oh, I haven't done as much, or I've wasted so much time. Then that leads to depression, instead of just being present and knowing that there's so much more that we can be doing and so much more time left to continue to grow and live a beautiful life and find success and build success in our lives. But that requires us to have the right perspective. And sometimes we got to check that. Like, who am I comparing myself to? Why am I rushing? Why do I feel like I have to get here at this point in time? Because that'll definitely get you very, very frustrated. And I know I have felt like that. Like, why am I not as successful as I want to be, or that I have expected to be? And yeah, that takes time to be self-reflective, and there can be certain things that you need to question and that you need to challenge. Like, maybe I'm just not mature enough yet. Maybe I haven't learned all the skills that I need to get to that place. And that can be more sobering than just beating yourself up and being down on yourself. Like, take time to know that we're living life, and life is a beautiful gift and journey that we're supposed to experience, not just rush through. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Let's keep going. I think he said 11, so I think we're on. Was that 4? That might be 4. I don't know. Let's keep going.
Next up is a huge problem I see that can be eliminated if you recognize this simple truth. I need you to know that it's never going to be the right time. What do I mean by that? A lot of guys delay either a new project or new start on life because they're waiting for things to be perfect, to get all their ducks in a row. Let me be the first to tell you that perfect opportunity will never present itself. Here's the thing. When you think and think and think, you'll always have ways you can improve your situation before you get started. It leads to what's called paralysis by analysis. The more you think about it, you eventually take no action. And what winds up happening, time just keeps rolling on and you never get started. And that's one thing I want you to realize. Perfection can often be the enemy of good. Just put one foot in front of the other and get started. Because the brutal truth is, it will never be the perfect time. Which leads very nicely.
Before you get into the next point, I agree with this. Analysis paralysis is like the worst. And I've also heard, done is better than perfect. And so the idea, like, if you're working on a project or whatever, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get it done. And I recently heard a podcast featuring Dr. Darius Daniels, who's a pastor, but he does a lot of other stuff. He's an author, a speaker, and all this stuff. But he talked about when you're pursuing your calling or purpose in life, very often people are looking for kind of like the foolproof 100% confirmation that what they're doing is what they're supposed to be doing. And something that he shared in the podcast was that you you may never get that 100% proof or that 100% evidence that this is what you need to do. Because, very often we're looking for that. Oh, okay. Is this really what I need to do? I need to be fully sure. But no, if you're being called or pushed to do something, and even if you only have 51%, that's enough to go off of. And that's something that I'm trying to hold on to. Like, even with this YouTube channel and the stuff that I'm trying to do, like, I don't need 100%. I really just need 51%. I just need enough to push me over the edge to know that I'm going for it. And I think that's very important in all aspects of our life. Like, even if you wanted to, I think, whatever, in regards to relationships, if you see a woman or know a woman that you want to ask out on a date or whatever, you don't need 100% to know that, yeah, she's going to say yes. You just need enough of, hey, I'm attracted to her. I think she's a great woman. I think, she would be somebody I would want to know more. And she seems somewhat interested in me. Let me go for it. You don't need the full 100%. You just need just enough courage to keep you going. Whether you're starting a new job or starting a business or something like that. You don't need everything. Like he's saying, you don't need all your ducks in a row. You just need enough to get going. Because, again, done is better than perfect. And even if things don't work out perfectly, even if you get rejected, even if the business doesn't pan out the way that you ideally would want it to, you're still learning. Something that I try to keep in mind and remind myself is that instead of saying wins and losses, I say wins and learns. Or something I picked up from a company meeting was like wins and deltas. So, of course, you have your wins or whatever, right? But then you have your learns or your deltas or things. In this situation, sure, you didn't win or you failed or whatever, but what can you learn from this? Or what's something that you could change from this? Because that's all that is information. It's information to help you to grow and to become your better self and to do whatever you want to do better next time. So you just got to keep going on that process, and trying to wait for things to be perfect and done exactly right hinders you from continuing to grow. So I think that was another good, brutal truth.
Into what I believe is another important, harsh truth. Time is your most valuable asset, so don't waste it. Think about a lot of things in life that you can lose. Most of them you can eventually replace. I'm talking about if you lose money, oftentimes if your fitness goes down, if your health decreases, there's often opportunities to improve those things and get them back. Know what you can't get back? Lost time. If that time is gone, you simply can't get it back. So you need to realize a resource that isn't renewable holds a lot of value. So you want to make sure you do your best not to waste time through laziness, through procrastination. One of my problems, if I'm going to be honest. Here's the thing, for my over 30 crowd, you have less time to waste. This is a really important asset for you. As men, we realize we have to value our assets. So it only stands to reason you have to really value your time. Now, next up.
I agree with this. I'm not going to say much on this, but yeah, time is very, very valuable. And I think even in our society, we've been low-key convinced certain things that diminish our appreciation of time. But it's that limited resource that we all have access to, and we need to be mindful of how we're using it. We need to be mindful of how we're investing our time and our energy, because those things can be finite,
Up is a brutal truth that I really stand behind. The fact is, you are who you surround yourself with. This is an underrated, undisputed truth. It's part of human nature. Here's the thing, as human beings, we're social creatures. Most of us are hardwired to want to fit in with the people we surround ourselves with. And subconsciously, a lot of us tend to start thinking and acting like our peers. Other people may not dictate what you say and do, but they definitely have an influence on it. That's why I highly recommend you look to be around like-minded people. That's because attitude and perspective can be contagious. If you hang around a bunch of losers, you might become the next loser. You see, the thing is, a lot of times we adjust how we act to our peer group because we tend to want to be agreeable. So if you are hanging around losers or people you know you shouldn't be around, I want you to think of it this way. Everybody can't go. That means as you go forward on life's path, some people you need to leave behind. Next up is
I agree with this. Like your company influences you. I also think what you consume influences you. So the reason I add to that is that, especially with the internet and the digital age that we're in, a lot of us relate to people that we don't even really know by consuming their content. So like me, even watching this guy's channel, I'm more or less relating to him. He's sharing his ideas with me, and those ideas impact me. It's no different that if I was hanging out with one of my friends or spending time with my wife. If she's sharing information with me, it's going to impact me if I choose it to, And I think we have to be very careful of that. Like he said, try to be around people who are of like mind. I think that's good advice, but I also think it can be kind of limiting if we're trying to grow and become our best selves. I think we should try to be around people that we can relate well to. But I also think we should try to be around people, if we can, try to be around people that help us get to where we want to go. The way I understand it, everybody should have a mentor, like a peer, and then a mentee, somebody that they're trying to, help. So yeah, your peer group can be what's the other word? Not peer, but like it'll come to me. But your peers are just people who are close to you, who are pretty much in the same place that you are. And so yeah, I think that's important to have that, because it's good to relate to people who are maybe going through the same stuff that you're going through. You want to have somebody that you can pour into, that you can give advice to. And then you want to have somebody like a mentor that is further along in your journey of where you want to go. The tricky and dangerous part about it is, if we choose the wrong people to be our mentors, if we choose the wrong people to be our peers, that can set us up. And sadly, I think more so now with the internet and things like YouTube, it can be real easy to end up following the wrong people. It can be real easy to watch the wrong YouTube channels, binge like the wrong podcasts, because if we're not being critical of the benefit that we want in our life and where we're trying to go, we can just keep consuming things that will ultimately impact us and change us in a negative way. But we might think, oh, this seems good, this seems okay, because they're saying things that we like or that we resonate with, but it's not actually challenging us. It's not actually making us better. And I think that's dangerous. And, my critique very often is to the manosphere kind of stuff. Like, people watch it, a lot of men watch it and consume it and consume it and consume it. But a lot of what they're sharing and where a lot of those guys are isn't really where you want to be. They give off false truths, false images of their success. They have bad standards often, and it's not helpful. It's not helpful, but if we're desperate and we're looking for community, if we're looking for people to relate to us and whatever, we can be relating to the wrong people. And so we have to be critical and we have to be mindful of that. I'm agreeing with him. Like, some people you got to cut off. And if you're trying to get to a better place in your life, some mentors or some people you used to watch, you got to stop watching that stuff, because you are what you eat. And everything that we consume, listen to, watch, that's going into us. We're eating that up. And if you keep eating up bad stuff, it's going to come out of you. It's going to become a part of you. And we got to be careful of that.
A simple truth us men in particular need to know. Men are judged by our actions, not by our words. Much more is revealed about a man's character by what he does than what he says. It's easy to talk a good game, but do you back it up? Do you say what you mean what you say? Can people depend on you? The way the world assesses men is based on our performance. Do you get the job done when you're asked to and required to? As men, we are judged by our utility, both to the people around us and our community at large. So I want you to keep in mind, men are judged by what we do, not by what we say. So what I recommend you do, under promise and overperform. Now, next up,
I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think what we have to be careful in as men is maybe limiting what utility means. So very often we may think that money is the only utility, or your strength is the only utility. Like those are the only things that men are supposed to be good at, or only things that people see valuable in men. But that's not true. Like your character, your emotional intelligence, how you relate to people, how you communicate with people, those things that may be considered soft skills are important too. Like we need to be mindful of all of those things. Because yes, utility in the sense of doing something, right? You're providing a service or whatever. And I do think that's part of our design as men, is we're supposed to be of service, be of good. We're supposed to do good works. We're supposed to create and produce things and live for glory and for good. That's doing something, right? Got it. But it's just more complex than that. I think we just have to be careful of what are we defining as utility, and what are we defining as those aspects of our personhood, of our humanity, that can actually be beneficial to other people. Because I mentioned like emotions, or like your mental well-being or whatever. Sometimes a lot of guys want to write off the emotional aspect, being able to be kind and supportive and loving towards somebody else. And it doesn't just have to be women. It could be, how are you being kind and supportive and loving to your son, or a young man in your life. Like there was this video, there was this video recently shared on Instagram where this younger black guy was, it was caught on a ring camera or whatever. But this young guy was trying to break into a house. And as he was, having a hard time getting in, he was getting ready to leave. And the owner of the house, another man, came in and came out, and he had his gun drawn. The other guy pulled his weapon out. And the older guy was like, yo, I understand that you're going through stuff. You don't have to do it this way. Like, you don't have to go about doing this. How about we just sit down and talk about it? That takes a huge level of emotional and mental maturity to be able to extend grace and mercy and kindness and gentleness to somebody that is clearly in the wrong. The young man was trying to break into his house, but that takes the maturity in those areas to be useful, to provide utility to that young man. Because some people, if they didn't have it, they would have went out and just shot him, or they would have just called the cops, and that would have been it. But he actually saw benefit in the young man and decided to relate to him and to help him. And that's good utility. And it was more than just, oh, I'm super strong, or I have a lot of money. It was like, no, let me actually extend kindness and grace to you. Let me actually use my words and use my presence and use my maturity, use my wisdom, use my knowledge to actually help you and understand you and give space for you. That's important. That's necessary. And so what I agree with him. I just think we have to be careful to make sure we are making sure our utility is well-rounded and not just, specific points.
Next up is a brutal truth that I believe if you accept it, will definitely improve your life. It's the fact that failure is inevitable, so you might as well embrace it. See, the thing is, everybody's life, especially successful people, is filled with failures, both big and small. The only way not to fail in your life? To not try, to not make any effort, to just lay on the couch and do nothing, which is in itself a failure. To get anywhere in life, you must take action. You must take risks. As the cliche goes, no risk, no reward. And risk takers often fall on their face. Even the most successful people in their life's journey make a lot of mistakes and suffer bumps and bruises. But the important thing is how do you respond to these bumps and bruises and mistakes? Do you learn from them or do you wallow in them? To be successful, you have to put yourself out there. So I'd rather you look at failures this way. When you try something new, either you're gonna win or you're gonna learn from it. The only way I believe in life you truly lose is not by trying in the first place. Now,
I know he's getting ready. This is probably like the last point, but I agree with that one. Like, failure is inevitable. You will fail at something, and that's okay. Again, like I was saying earlier, and I think he pretty much said the same thing. We have wins and we have losses. We have wins and we have learns. You know, we have wins and we have things that we can change. Wins and things that we can improve on. You know what I'm saying? So, like, embrace it. Don't be afraid of that happening. Don't beat yourself up, you know, that you may have lost or that you failed. It's just a learning moment, and that's okay. It's better to keep learning so that you can actually get better than never having that experience at all. For some people, I'll keep it general. For some people, they have been winning so much in their life that when opposition comes, when something doesn't go right, they don't know how to deal with it. And it just breaks them all the way down. And we need those losses, we need those failures to help us to not be so fragile, you know, and we have to learn how to cope with that stuff, how to process those things and to heal from them and to, again, make ourselves stronger, you know? Yeah, all right, let's get to this. I think this is the last one, and then we're going to move on to the next video.
Next up on the list of things I believe over 30 guys need to really take into account. If you're not growing and continue to learn, you're falling behind. The one thing you can't do as you progress through life is to rest on your laurels, especially in today's modern world. We live in a constantly evolving, more competitive world. For you to stay ahead, you've got to constantly improve skills you already have, or even more importantly, keep developing new skills. How do you do that? Read a book from time to time. Take in some more knowledge, maybe even take continuing education classes, take any new opportunities at your job. In today's society, especially the older you get, you have to have the ability to adapt. You do that by continuing to learn. A man who continues to learn remains relevant. He boosts his confidence and he's prepared for the unexpected. The simple fact is, men over 30, you need to continue to grow and learn. Next up on the list is a brutal...
I 100% agree. That's part of one of the reasons why I do the study hall stuff, because I want to keep learning. And I want to encourage you to keep learning, because we need to continue to grow. We can't, like you said, rest on his laurel. This week, I was able to meet up with my family, and I have a great uncle, I guess, that is 98 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just, I haven't seen him in years, but just to be able to sit down and have conversation with my family and hearing him give his thoughts and contributions and insights on stuff like how AI is changing our world and how it's not good and stuff like that. It's just like, this is great. Like, this is great. It's to be able to get all these different perspectives from, I think there was a total of 5 generations at that table while we were eating breakfast or whatever. And for him to be up on everything that's happening and to be able to give his insight and stuff is beautiful. And I would hope to be that way, you know, as I get older, as I get to 120 or whatever, to be able to still have conversations with my great grandchildren or a great niece or whatever, like being able to engage in conversation and not be so distant away from what's relevant and what's novel in the world. So yeah, you got to keep learning. You got to keep learning.
Truth that I believe might be the most important one on our list. The fact is, you are responsible for your life. You need to realize you're in charge of you. You are the primary driver in both your failures and your successes. The thing a man needs to do, don't pass the buck. Take responsibility for your life. Don't spend your time blaming the world, blaming others. 2 things successful men don't do: they don't blame others and they don't make excuses. Here's the thing, I'm not here to tell you that outside forces, outside people won't have an effect on your life. Bad things do happen to good people. And I'm not telling you you're responsible to these bad things that happen to you. But what you are responsible for, how you respond to these things. You have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. Don't play the victim in your life story. What I highly recommend you do some self-analysis. Lean into your strengths and look to work on your weaknesses. A man
sorry, I'm trying to. I'm pausing it because I'm on my watch later list, so I don't want it to jump into the next video. Hold on.
And takes accountability. He looks in the mirror and realizes in his life the buck stops with him.
Okay, right there. I agree with that. It's true. You gotta own up to the things that are happening in your life, and realize that there's certain stuff in your life that it may not be your fault, but you have to be responsible for it. You know, you have to take responsibility for it, and I think that can be really challenging. It can be really, really, really challenging, especially when it's not your fault, because your thought can be like, yo, why am I dealing with this? I didn't like, why am I dealing with this? I didn't even have anything to do with this, but now it's on my plate. This sucks. And that's just the way the world goes. And I think that's even part of us being men. Like, we deal with that kind of stuff. You know, we're called to deal with that kind of stuff, to be resourceful and to learn how to manage and navigate those situations. When something comes on your plate or happens to you or happens to your loved ones or happens in your community, that we're like, yo, it's not my fault, but I desire and I want these things to get better and I want things to improve. So I'm going to pull up my sleeves and get to work. You know, overall, I thought this video was pretty good. I didn't have that much pushback. If any, I didn't have much pushback to his video. So, I mean, if you liked it, go and watch it for yourself. Leave him a like on his channel. I think the channel is The Style OG. And the name of the video is 11 Brutal Truths Men Over 30 Need to Hear. And I think, shoot, if you're younger than 30, you still need to hear a lot of that stuff. It's good advice. I thought it was good. All right, on to our next video for today. This one is from The Shoe Make Way. And it's entitled, I'm hitting the wrong stuff. It is entitled, What You Need to Know About Raising Black Boys. Again, when I watch these videos, I've never seen them before. I have no idea what he's going to talk about, but I like his channel, and a lot of the stuff that he talks about I think is good. So let's see what he's getting into in this video.
I see a lot of women having trouble with their sons because they having these kids with dudes that shouldn't even be fathers. I've actually had emails come through from women asking were they wrong for keeping their kids away from their dad because the dad was selling dope and they didn't want them to be around an unsafe environment. They didn't want them chilling at the trap with their daddy. They didn't want their kid around their daddy because they smoke weed or they get blackout drunk or he violent and so on and so forth. And I just gotta say, this is the reason why I believe we should take sex off the table until marriage. And we should really be focusing on getting to know who we getting involved with. That go for men and women. In our community, our standards are way too low. Look at what's going on.
I'm going to try to give more space for him to continue to explain his point, but I don't disagree with that. I think since he mentioned sex, I think we live in a society that doesn't see the value or the intensity of what sex is. Not only from, regards to the things that can happen related to it. So like pregnancies or in some cases people getting STIs and stuff like that. But to me, at least at this point in my life, I view sex as a very sacred and spiritual thing. Not to say that you can't, if you're married and sorry if this is kind of raw topic, but if you're, married, based off of my belief, I'm a Christian, but if you're married and you're in your union, if y'all got the desire, you can just go at it, go for it. The marriage bed is undefiled, whatever, like you can go for it. But in general, sex is a very special and a valuable thing that is multi-layered. Like for me, my understanding is this a spiritual, soul, and physical thing. But I think in the society and the culture that impacts us and impacts our community doesn't value it. as such. Like it really is just like eating a sandwich or something like that. Like it doesn't have that much importance. And when we treat things and we don't honor things and don't see it as valuable, we haphazardly act in a way that's not productive, that's not beneficial. But let's keep going. Let's see what he says.
Everybody focused on money and sex. So when it's based on money and sex, the standards ain't got to be too high. But we engage in an activity that's bringing kids into the world. And these kids got to grow up in these broken homes and grow up in all of this drama and all these traumatic experiences that's going on around them. They watching mama and daddy cuss each other out because they hate each other because they really didn't get a chance to know each other. Daddy trying to change mama. Mama trying to change daddy. Ain't no love in that house. So look at our kids. You know, our kids are supposed to be our future. They are our future. But if we keep on doing this, what kind of future do our kids have? What do they have to look forward to? I think as a community, it's important for us to raise our standards. And women, raising little boys, raising little black boys. I want y'all to understand this cycle. Understand this. As little boys, we grow up wanting that connection with our fathers. We want our fathers to affirm us. We want our fathers to show us that attention and that love that we need. We grow up wanting to be like our dads, whether they good or bad. We want to be like them because we want them to like us. We want them to love us. Then we hit middle school, high school age. Then we start trying to impress our friends because we want to be accepted. We want to be popular and so on and so forth. It ain't till later in life where we return to, okay, impressing my friends done blew up in my face a few times. I see I got I've had some negative experiences because I ain't really been hanging around the best crowd, so I need to start trying to emulate somebody else. That's when we start looking for that father figure, that mentor. The best thing you can do for your sons and for your daughters is to find a father for them that will be a good example. Because when that little boy when he's little and he want that love and that affection and attention and quality time from his father, that a good dude to be there to give him the confidence and stuff like that a little boy's gonna need. By him having a good father, a little boy grow up with confidence. He'll know who he is. He ain't gonna be looking to everybody else, trying to please everybody else, trying to get them to like him. My daddy liked me.
I agree with him. I have some thoughts, but I'm trying to hold on to them because I want him to complete his thought before. I don't want to just interject and then he ends up saying the same thing. So I'm trying to give space to hear him out. I think this is good so far, though.
So he'll walk more confidently. When he get to that age where he want to try to impress his friends like most kids do, we get rebellious and all that. When he get to that age, if he got a good daddy in his life, that daddy will get on his behind and be like, hey, you ain't finna do this. I already know the program. You ain't finna play with me or your mama like that. Whether y'all together or not, you need a man that's gonna look at his son and be able to stare him in his face and tell him, boy, I'll do something to you before I let somebody else do something to you. And also, when that boy get through that phase and he start focusing on what's important and he start finding out, what he really need to do with his life, he need a man that can give him real life advice, real good tools and strategies that he can use in his life to do something positive and productive with his life. He need to be able to treat a woman right. So instead of looking for the bad boy, the one that turn you on when you're young, when you out looking and you just want to have fun, instead of laying down with a dude like that, you need to be thinking about that type of stuff before you do it. Because you gambling every time you lay down in the bed with somebody. The dude might be lit, the dude might have a couple dollars, but the dude ain't got no character. The dude don't care, he don't have no respect for women. He don't really have no respect for himself. He's insecure. He hides behind his money. You ain't peeped that because you too busy focusing on the moment. Far too many people ending up in situations where they have regret and they trying to figure out how to fix it after it's too late. That little boy, the one that you looking for a good positive role model, he already here. And he love his daddy, whether you love him or not. Whether he a good example or not. All that little boy know is that's my daddy right there. Do your kids a favor and pick a worthy man, somebody that really knows how to treat you, somebody that loves himself, loves God, loves his community, loves his mama, loves his family. Find somebody that work hard. Find somebody that's disciplined. Find somebody that's strong-minded, somebody that'll tell you no when it's time to tell you no. I know we got this thing where we always want to get what we want. You know, everybody's spoiled. We want to find somebody that'll give us everything we want. But it's important to also have a man that can tell you no. That means he got a backbone. That means he got a mind of his own. And you know what I mean by that. I ain't talking about like if you ask him for something that's essential and he say, no, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about, you know, when you get in that mode and it's like, oh, I want this. Or you know when you get excessive. You know when you being excessive. You know when you trying to man and you testing them to see what you can get away with. You need a man that can put his foot down and say, nah, this ain't going down. That's a sign of a leader. I want y'all to understand that the reason why I thought about this is because, for one, I get emails from time to time from women that have this issue of, like I said, they got a son and they want to put their son around a positive male role model. Some of them even show their sons my videos and stuff like that. And then also I get on TikTok and I see that is women, you know, in their early 20s that have TikTok accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers, and all they do is tell hookup stories of how they traveled to this place or went on spring break to this place and met somebody and just hooked up, and they talking about how the sex was and, oh, I did this with him and I did that. Man, you don't even know what you're doing to yourself. It's wicked in the world right now. People they building platforms off of just having meaningless sex with.
It's been wicked forever. I just want to add that. I do have thoughts. All right, I'll just say it. I agree with him. I think, I guess from this is kind of, well, thus far I can see that the video is definitely more catered towards women, which is fine, because his channel is for men and women. I think for me, this is more reason for why we need more beneficial men in our community to minimize and alleviate these problems. Because it happens. We know it happens. We know stuff happens. We know pregnancy happens. You know, we understand that relationships don't go well. It happens. And it can make it difficult for, let's see if I change this. It can make it difficult for a lot of people. It can be difficult for women. It can be difficult for children whose fathers aren't in their lives. And yeah, if you're, you know, if a woman is looking for a role model for her children, young boy or young girl, if there aren't that many options, if there aren't that many like role models out there, if there aren't that many beneficial black men for them to look to, it becomes harder and harder to influence the next generation. I remember there were times when I was younger when my dad was wrestling and going through his stuff, and he wasn't around. My mom made an effort to try to get me around black men that had their head on straight, you know, and I was grateful for that. I'm very, very grateful for that. Whether it was in church or like she tried to get me a part of Alpha Phi Alpha. They have like this mentoring program. She wanted me to get in part of that. I pushed back. I was like, I think I'm okay. But I mean, that brother that was trying to get me connected with that, he still had an influence on my life. And it was still a good role model for me. He was a good older brother. And it was part of our church community or whatever. And I think stories like this, situations like this, is more reason for us why we need to make an effort to become beneficial, why we need to spend more time trying to encourage our brothers to just be better, so that these kind of stories and these kind of issues can be minimized and not seen as like normal in our community. So I mean, I agree with what he's saying. I guess for me, yes, women can try to choose better and stuff, but women also need a better pool of men to choose from and to be chosen from and to be pursued by. Like overall, we still are the leaders and the heads of our community, and so we need better leaders, we need better heads, we need better men in our community to influence and relate better to our women, and to also influence and relate well to the youth of our community, the young boys and young girls. We need that. So that we got to have more. We got to make a better effort of becoming beneficial. And I mean, not saying that it's going to be easy, but I think that it's going to have a greater influence and impact than just kind of solely putting the pressure on women to choose the right person to have a relationship with. All right, let's get back. We're almost done. Again, I hope you all have been enjoying this study hall with me, and if you do, please like, share, and subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Dudes that they don't even know. It's sad that this is the type of stuff that's going on. And I know they're young, and they young people do wild stuff. Young people make mistakes, but they need guidance. Everybody need to sit they little cousin down, little sister down, whoever. You know what I'm saying? Every young woman and young man need to be sat down, and we need to be having conversations like this with them, because too many people making mistakes, making permanent decisions, making decisions that yield permanent results because they want to feel good in the moment. We need to think more long term, because that's why we in the situation we in now, with these single mothers trying to raise these little boys, and these little boys out here rebelling and running the streets and joining gangs and making babies at an early age, and you know what I'm saying, just doing all kind of wild stuff. I just want y'all to understand that, man. If you share this video with any young woman and let them know, man, hey, like I say, I always say, y'all know me, I ain't cracking down on women. I ain't trying to, belittle women or nothing like that, but I was raised by a single mama, so I know how it feels as a little boy in that situation. I know how it feels to grow up without that father figure right there when you need him, and you able to like really just run off a cliff and do all kind of wild, dangerous stuff. Luckily, I had my granddaddy around. So when I made it through my dumb phase, I looked at my granddad and said, man, I want to make him proud, because that's a strong man right there. My granddaddy just made 91 years old last weekend on Sunday. Went to church with him. All his kids and some of his grandkids, we all went to church with him. And they had like a program for him. We sat him down in the front of the church, and everybody took a turn talking about how much he meant to him. Everybody said how strong of a man he was, how much he loved them, and how much they wanted him to be proud of them. If it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be. So that's why I'm telling you, it's important for all these little boys out here to have a strong, positive male role model in their life. You may not see that that's important right now because you having fun, but just understand, when the fun is over with and it's time to get serious, if you done made that mistake and had a baby with a dude who you thought was just popular and lit, and he might have had a little money, he was flashy and this, and he had a nice car and all this and that, when the fun is over and it's time to get serious, and you see that this man ain't got no character, he don't have no sense of responsibility, the only thing he care about is himself, then that's when the wool gonna come off your eyes and you gonna see just how much of a mistake you made.
I know there's not a lot left, but I think but something else I was saying, I think he made a good point, especially about honoring and appreciating his grandfather in his life, which I've heard, like one of my best friends, My best friend, he had a really close relationship with his grandfather, and pretty much grew up in a very similar situation, like his single mom, but his grandfather played a huge part in his life in helping him to become a man, and to become a better man. And I think the thing for me, which is kind of scary and sad, is that a lot of these men who would be in some families be considered like patriarchs because they are just like the head man or the eldest man in their family. A lot of the ones who are considered honorable or beneficial or whatever, a lot of them are passing away. That's a generation of men passing away who made a huge impact, right? And who were role models for young men and young women, for the next generation. And I think it's sad and it's kind of concerning because I question and I wonder how many more of us will be able to play that role for the next generation and even in our current generation. Which is, again, why I think it's so important and why it matters to me that we strive to become beneficial men. Because if we don't, there will be fewer role models. There will be fewer honorable men having an impact on their families and on their community. And it won't translate well in helping our generation become better. There's so many stories of elders or, like greats within our community that have passed. But it seems like currently there aren't as many, and I think we have to work on that to make sure that we are being honorable even now. Like, we don't have to be, of course it's great to get to a place where you are honored in old age. But I think we should strive to be honored and honorable wherever we are in our stage of life. Constantly striving for that, to be a beneficial black man in our community, because we need it. Because if there isn't an example there, then either we will wild out and follow the wrong images, or we will end up, being influenced by the wrong stuff. We will either just be lost or we end up following the wrong people. And I think that's happening to a lot of in our current generation. A lot of young men are following bad advice and following the leadership and influence and impact of a lot of men who aren't actually beneficial. And so we really do gotta. He mentions raising a standard, having a standard in our community. And again, I know, this video is more directed towards women, but I think we as men need to raise a standard for ourselves of the way that we should carry ourselves within our community, and set a standard and an expectation for our brothers as well. Because that matters a lot. It matters a lot. All right, let's wrap up this video, because the study hall has gone longer than expected. Here we go.
And then you're going to be just like a lot of other people that's sitting around looking, okay, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to make my son grow up and be a productive man? There's far too many black women in this position. Because there's far too many young men that's just dumb. And man, you would be surprised how many 30-year-old men look up to NBA Youngboy, a rapper that's in his 20s that's preaching and rapping about being destructive to the community, drinking lean, smoking weed, popping pills, shooting up the block. It's 30-year-old men older than him looking up to him because he got money. And then it's women sleeping with these dudes because he got the bad boy look and they think he lit and everything else. And then you'll realize once you get tired of it, once it's like, okay, now it's time to get serious about life now. This dude ain't trying to get serious about life because he still got that little boy mindset. Now you mad at him. Now you trying to fix him. Now you cussing him out. Now y'all arguing. Now you trying to get him to turn into the man that you really want, the man that you really need. But he can't do it because it ain't in him. It's too much of this going on. So I want y'all to keep that in mind. Think long term. Raise your standards. Don't be out here chasing behind these young men that's just running wild and they ain't doing nothing productive with their life. I'm telling you. It look fun. It's fun for the, in the moment. But eventually, you'll wake up and realize you live in a nightmare. And that's all I got to say about that. I'll see y'all on the next one. I see y'all.
Okay, overall, I thought the video was cool. I thought it was good. I think the last thing that I would say is that he mentioned it, like, which is sad, but I know is also true. There are men who are my age, who idolize and admire men who are, whether younger or older, who live a particular lifestyle that's not beneficial, that's not productive, and that's not helpful for our community, not helpful for public life, not helpful for your individual life. And so, as the video was wrapping up, he was, trying to give the advice for women to not pursue after these young guys who are acting this way. But like, that makes it even more difficult if you're trying to pursue somebody that's supposed to be older or more mature, but they are trying to live the lifestyle of the younger guys. So you have, like, it's just bad all the way around. And so that's what I mean by, like, we need to also raise a standard where that kind of stuff, we have to call it out for what it is and try to encourage and what's the word? Challenge our brothers to live to a higher standard of being a man and realizing that it's more to life than just cash and girls, or fame and notoriety and power and all these other things, or being high value and all that stuff. But that takes work. That takes conversations, and that takes ruffling feathers and being confrontational. And I get it. Like, for some people, they believe that once you get to a certain point, you can't change your perspective. Like, you can't have your mind renewed. I mean, I disagree. I do think two things, I guess. One, with divine intervention, of course. And I believe the Most High can change anybody, and he can renew our minds, especially when we yield our lives to him and he saves us, through the death, burial, resurrection of, Jesus Christ. But I also think if you help people to see clearly and get a better understanding of the issues of their behavior and the impacts that it has on themselves and those around them, I think they have the better chance of making a decision to change. Whether people decide to change their life and to improve is on them. But I think it's important that we share and that we speak up as beneficial men, and I include the Shoemake Way in that. We have to continue to highlight and encourage and challenge men to live a better life and to live to a higher standard than what's also pushed on the internet, what's also pushed on podcasts, what's also pushed in our society and our culture to live a wicked and degenerate lifestyle, to live a selfish way. Like, we have to push back against that. We have to fight against these ideas. We have to fight against these beliefs. for the sake of those men in themselves, because when you're living like that, you are also destroying yourself. And so for the sake of those men, but also for the greater good and concern of our community, we have to fight for and encourage and do our best to try to challenge and make and have develop more beneficial men in our community. It's really, really imperative and really, really important. But overall, I mean, I thought the video was good. Again, I didn't know, like I told you, I didn't watch the videos before. I don't watch the videos before. But I thought the video was good. My pushback would just be, we got to develop better men. We got to develop better men, and we have to, as men, become better ourselves, so that there are better role models, that there are better men to relate to women in our community, so that this doesn't happen as often or as much. But all right, that's enough studying for today. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it. Again, if you like this content at all, like, share, and subscribe. And also, go, I put the links to the videos in the description. So if you like the content, go watch it again for yourself, give them a like, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. But remember, black man, you are called for more than mediocre living. You're here for a purpose, to live for glory and for the good of others. Let's do the work and keep choosing to become beneficial for our community. Protect your mental, find time for an emotional release valve, and keep striving to become beneficial. I believe in you. Go make something for yourself, make something of yourself, and make something for glory and for good. I'll talk to you later. Peace.